Do you know what owning your home is really costing you? People are often surprised when they add up all the numbers to see just how much of their income is being spent on an unwanted property. Let's talk a little bit more today about some of the holding costs that you're going to encounter as a homeowner here in Tucson. Hi, my name's Carl Krenzel with Carl Buys Houses, and owning a home can be very expensive, and this is why investors like myself, when we flip a house, the goal is to sell it as absolute quickly as possible. Holding on to it will eat away your profits until the house ends up eventually costing all the profits. Do you own a house that you'd rather sell? Waiting for a buyer and the escrow process can take months when selling with a real estate agent here in Tucson. As a real estate agent myself and broker, I know. By the time the process has been completed, you could be out thousands of dollars in lost holding costs. Let's just talk about some of the costs that you'll encounter if you decide to go ahead and sell your property on the multiple listing service. First, the first typical holding cost that comes up are the utilities. Even if you're not living in the house any longer, you're going to need to keep the lights on. Utilities are going to need to be left on until the house is no longer in your name. If you're living in a house that's too large with the hope of downsizing, you may find yourself spending a fortune keeping the house warm or cool here in the summertime, waiting around for a buyer. If your utilities are averaging a couple of $100 each month, well, gosh, you could be looking at thousands of dollars by the time the property is actually sold. Now, the second thing that people don't typically think about are the taxes. If your tax obligation is such that if you've got an unwanted property, particularly a rental property, many times it's taxed higher than what you might be actually if you're living in it. And your tax obligation doesn't end until the house is actually sold. Depending on the size and the location of your home here in Tucson, you could be looking at thousands of dollars that you're going to need to cough up with in property taxes alone. Here in Tucson and Pima County, you know how they love to spend that money. And with a fast sale, your tax obligation will end right away. Obviously, routine maintenance is another issue. Light bulbs, gas, let's say your air conditioner goes out, air conditioning filters, these things add up quicker than you can believe. And you may want to take time to consider how many trips you got to take to Home Depot or Lowe's that you're making and how much time you're spending simply maintaining the home while it's listed. You may find that waiting for a traditional sale just isn't worth it. If there's one thing that I've found out is surprise repairs. I mentioned a minute ago, and there's nothing more frustrating than when a needed repair pops up while the property is listed or as a result of a home inspection. Imagine this. Imagine you're going through a home inspection, or let's say the summertime comes around and it's super hot outside. You decide to click on the air conditioner and the compressor goes out. Believe it or not, you're already at a point where you're no longer wanting to own that home, and now you're going to have to spend even more money onto it. That can be incredibly frustrating. Insurance. The average homeowner pays about $1,200 a year for their homeowner's insurance. While this figure can really depend on where you are and who is your coverage, it can ultimately be a significant expense, especially if it's for a house that you don't want anymore. Landscaping. When you list your Tucson home, curb appeal is incredibly important. Okay, when you're trying to sell your home the traditional way, it's important that you maximize the curb appeal so that your home stands out and pops. Because when people come to your home and drive by, they're going to make an instant decision before they get out, especially if it's hot or in the monsoon season when it's raining. Listen, whether you do it yourself or hire a professional to help keep up the landscape, it's going to cost you time and money. I don't know about you, but I hate cleaning. Cleaning is another thing that you got to do. And of course, the inside of the property's got to be kept in great condition at all times as well. You'll want to help keep the house clean at all times, be prepared for last minute showings, and honestly, hiring a maid service can help. But you'll need every member of your family to kind of chip in and help keep things tidy, always cleaning up after themselves. Other holding costs come up. Listen, if you're here in Tucson, depending on where you live and the current situation you're in, horse property, guest houses, depending on where you're at, you may find that you're dealing with even more costs than you thought as a reluctant property owner, a few of these costs can include homeowners insurance, homeowners association fees, right? If you own a home in an HOA or a private community, you're going to have to keep the HOA dues up, as well as any repairs that the HOA wants for paint or whatever, right? Another one, property management. Maybe you own an investment property here in Tucson, but you're living out of the area. You're living, I don't know, in Minnesota someplace, and you want to sell your property, but you're dealing with a property management company, and they've got property management fees and other costs as a landlord. That's a cost, right? How about home watching services? This is popular these days. If you live out of the area and you're renting your property out, you don't deal with it very often, and you've got a property management service, that they probably have a home watch service, somebody that's just coming by to check on the property every now and again. And when it comes down to it, your holding costs can add up to a small fortune. And once you've made the decision that you want to sell your property here in Tucson, the faster you're able to do it, the more money you're going to be able to put in your pocket. I invite you to go ahead and run the numbers for yourself so you can determine what's the best selling option that's for you in your home here in Tucson. If you have any problems, any questions about deciding what your holding costs could be, then feel free to give me a call. Let me help you end those expensive costs. Call me today, 520-403-6227, or click on the link below and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks a lot and have a powerful day. Bye-bye.